Hi, this is Marlene Dinarius here from Latinum, and I'm continuing on with my reading of the Janua Linguarum Reserata of John Amos Comenius. And we're going to do this in English and Latin. We're using a 17th century text. And here we go. Chapter 13. FRUTICES, FRUTICEIque fructus. Shrubs and fruits belonging to shrubs. Shrubs as in very small bushes. Stirps, lignescens, a plant growing woody. Et multiplicae caudice fruticans, and sprouting out with several stems. Appellatur frutex is called a shrub, in other words, a bush. Quorum notiores tibi referam, of which the more known ones I shall relate to you. I shall point them out to you. Paragraph 101. Corylus, the hazelnut tree, fert nuces avellanas, it bears hazelnuts. Prunellus, the bullace tree, that's a prunus, a kind of prune. Pruna silvestria, wild bullace. We don't use that word anymore, or I've never heard it. I've only heard of plums. Sambucus, the elder tree. Bacchus sambuceas, bears elderberries. Paliurus, the holly tree. Bacchus paliuri, holly berries. Rosa, the rose. Rosas. Canirobus, the eglantine. Agrestes rosas, the wild rose. Et postea, and afterwards, Bacchus cenospati, eglantine berries, rose hips, rose haws, and they make a wonderful drink. I gather them here in Samothraki in the autumn time, boil them down with sugar, and then I strain them through a cloth after I have smashed them up, and then I strain them again through a cloth because they have tiny hairs in them, and then I bottle them to make a wonderful drink. Anyway, that's it. And they are called eglantine berries, which I didn't know before, but now I do. (102) Vinifera vitis profert vinacias uvas. The wine-teeming vine that has lots and lots of things that have little bunches of grapes on it, yieldeth, it gives, winish grapes. We don't say winish anymore, but this is a literal translation of the Latin. Vinacias uvas, winish. It's an adjective. We just don't have that adjective in English, but this is how the Romans put it. Vinacias uvas, winish grapes. Spinifera vitis, the gooseberry tree. Uvas spinas, gooseberries. Also, according to this, in Old English, called scaps. Or, according to this, it says fee berries. Crespinas. I don't know this at all. Oxyacantha, the barberry bush. Berberes, bears barberries. Ribes, the ryeberry bush, gives hold of Sancti Johannis Bacchus, St. John's berries. And then we have rubus, Humi rubus, the bramble. Mora rubi, blackberries. Rubus idaeus, the raspberry or bindberry bush. Mora rubi idaei, gives raspberries, or are called bindberries. Or is that a hind? It may be, but either way, it's not said anymore, in English anyway. Caparis, the caper shrub, the caper bush. Capares has capers. (103). Keratonia, the bean tree, dat dulces siliquas, it giveth sweet shales. These are pods. We're talking about the carob tree here. This is a tree that grows in Europe, in the south, and it has a bean and a pod which you can grind up and make something a bit like cocoa. And apparently back in the days when videotape was a thing, carob seeds were an ingredient in making videotape. One of those things that's just stuck in my brain for some reason. Cinnamomum, the cinnamon tree. Cinnamum, this gives cinnamon bark. Glycyrrhiza, the licorice. Mellitum radiculum, a sweet root that is sweet like honey. Mellitum radiculum, a honey sweet root, which we don't say in English the same way. Sed hedera arbores scandens ex edit eas, but ivy, climbing up trees, ex edit eas, eats them out. Ex edit, eats them out, eats out the hearts of them, which say from in the English translation. It doesn't quite say that in the Latin. It just says to eat them out. Ex edit eas. (104). Balsamum, the balm tree, the balsam tree. Odoratissima arbuscula, a most sweet shrub. Si inciditur vitreis, osseisque cultellis, if it be cut or slit with knives made of glass or bone, osseisque, and of bone, cultellis. Nam ferro incisa e moritur, for being gashed with iron it dies. Eliqua, it droppeth oppo balsamum, balsam. Succum pretiosiore auro, a juice more precious or dearer than gold. And apparently this tree is endangered, but interestingly, according to this, it cannot be cut with iron, but only with glass or bone. Gossypium, the cotton tree. Ferre quidam non ab simile nuci, it bears something that is not much unlike a nut, it's not dissimilar to a nut. Quae dehiscens, which gaping open when the outside cover comes off. Detegit cerca nucleos glomum lanae inculcatum, it has uncovered, and the English here discovers, uncovered around the kernels, a little ball, and he says here a little bottom, of wool, thrust into it, or stamped in. Inculcatum, stamped into it. Quem redordiri, which to unweave, et inde conficere lina gossipina, and of it to make cotton yarn, that is threads. Est muliebris labor, it is woman's work, whatever a woman may be. Paragraph 106. Isti palustres, those fenny or marshy places, the marshy ones, etiam sunt fruticosi, so those marshy plants are also shrubby, fruticosi. Juncus palmipedalis, the rush, of a foot and a hand breadth in height, understood here. Scirpus, canna, tricubitalis, and the rush, a foot and a half in height, the bulrush, or cane, 3 cubits high. Gerens in sumate teufas, and wearing on the top downy tufts or tassels, a cat's tail in English. Qui cum sit enodis et mollicellus, which, seeing it is free from knots and softish. Texuntur ex illo, is woven from it. Scirpaei, panniers. Canistra, baskets. Matai, mats. Tandenque lignosa et nodosa arundo. And finally the reed, which is hard like wood, and nodosa, it is knotty, and lignosa, it is woody. And the final section in this chapter, Quaecunque paula minora sunt fruticibus, whatsoever are somewhat smaller than shrubs. Su frutices vocantur are called under shrubs, literally, shrubs that are smaller than shrubs. Su frutices vocantur. Ut ruscus, like the knee-home, butcher's broom, or we just call broom in English nowadays. I've never heard it called knee-home before, nor for that matter, butcher's broom. Et reliqui cardui, and other thistles. Itemque ebulus, also wallwort, this plant I don't know. Erica, heath or heather. Nardus, spikenard. Lavendula, lavender. Ruta, rue or herb grass. Salvia, sage. Rosmarinus, rosemary. Absinthium, wormwood. Artemisia, mugwort, et myrtillus, and myrtle. Now, interesting enough, the myrtle bushes that grow around here are actually quite large. So I don't think you would call them sufrutices. They are pretty big. They're about 5 or 6 meters tall. Myrtillus. Ferens nigra et rubra myrtilla, seu wacinia, bearing black and white myrtle berries, also called whortle berries in the older English, also known as bilberries. I've heard of bilberries before, but I didn't know bilberries were myrtle berries, and I've never heard of whortle berries. So that's it for this chapter of the Janua Linguarum Reserata, the Gate of Tongues Unlocked, and it's certainly unlocking quite a lot of 17th century English for me, plus of course a modicum of Latin. I hope you enjoyed that. Remember that you can find all my wonderful stuff at latinum.org.uk, and I invite you to visit there, and you can read the reviews about what I've done at Trustpilot. Bye.